Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. This is so ridiculous. I own 3 Explorer Homage watches. Why in the world do I own 3 of these? So tonight I'm going to explain why I bought each of these watches, what I like and don't like about them, and why it is that I still own them. So let us begin. Alright, so we'll begin with the watch that started it all, the Smith's Everest. I ended up buying this watch because I borrowed an actual Explorer from a friend of mine and actually really fell in love with the aesthetic. However, the Explorer really isn't a grail watch for me, so I went looking around and found this as what appeared to be the best alternative, especially in this vintage 1016 style, to the real deal, so I picked one up. As you all know, it has the old clasp on it, so I'm always a bit nervous about wearing this watch, and that's why I've gone hunting for others. The second Explorer Homage that I've purchased is the Tissel, and as you can see, this is sort of a more modern Explorer Homage. The indices on this piece are really large, so they might actually be the indices intended for the larger Explorer, but used with this 36mm. I would have to see an actual Explorer in person again and kind of compare the two. But I actually like this watch. It's kind of cool having the applied indices as an option if I'm in the mood. And this clasp is absolutely brilliant. It has the toolless micro adjustment to it. So you can just pop this out and slide this piece here in or out as needed. So this would actually be a really great traveling watch. I took the Everest to Palm Springs, and in the heat of the weather that was there, it ended up being a bit too tight and I forgot to bring a tool to micro adjust it a little bit more loose. So this would have been a perfect watch to bring on that vacation. My most recent purchase is the San Martin, and I bought this one because it's a 1016 homage, which is my personal favorite of the Explorer iterations, and so I had to see what this watch was like, and it's pretty decent. If you see my other videos on this watch, it does have some screw issues, but once you get the bracelet dialed in, this watch has been just amazing. Yeah, I've actually been wearing this more than the other two. Alright, so what I like and dislike about each of these, the quality of the Smith's Everest is absolutely next level. As far as quality goes, this watch beats out the other two easily. It's also interesting because this watch wears very small. It's 36mm like the others. Well, actually the San Martin is 37, but essentially 36. But this watch visibly looks much smaller than the other two. Here it is next to the Tissel. It's just crazy that these watches are the same size. They absolutely don't look like it. And the San Martin is only 1mm larger, but yeah, that is just wild. I love the crystal on the Everest. That is absolutely amazing, and it's a great touch to the Explorer aesthetic. I actually kind of like the rivet bracelet. I thought that those would kind of bother me, but it's kind of a cool touch. Yeah, just the overall quality of this watch is just amazing, and it has drilled lugs. The quality of the screw-down crown is great, and this bracelet just feels nice and solid. Yeah. And as most of you are aware, what I don't like about this watch is this buckle that has a nasty habit of popping open. When I first got this watch, it would pop open constantly. Anytime I bent my wrist wrong, it would pop open. I had a jeweler tighten it, and since then it's only done it once, but that is nerve-wracking. Another thing is the taper is actually more gradual on this bracelet than at least the San Martin, perhaps the Tissel as well. That, and given how small this watch wears, this looks kind of bulgy and bulky. So yeah, any negatives I have about this watch are actually kind of related to the bracelet and the clasp. Other than that, it's absolutely brilliant. With the Tissel, I love the applied indices. The crystal is interesting. It's like a super tiny little box to it, almost inexistent. The taper is much better on this bracelet. Not quite as amazing as the San Martins though, but it doesn't look too large for this watch. And part of that is just how large the watch head itself wears. This clasp is very large. It takes up all of my wrist underneath there, but because of that micro adjustment there, where you don't need tools or anything, absolutely brilliant. And of the three, this is definitely the safest clasp. This is not popping open ever. Yeah, the fold over safety clasp is the way to go. But this one's fun if I want to wear something more like a more modern Explorer Homage. And this one's kind of the most tooly of all of them. This is the one that's gonna probably be worn in situations where it's gonna take a beating more than the other two. I've really been liking this watch. It looks very explorer-y on the wrist, even more so than the Everest. In my opinion, this has the aesthetic I love about the Explorer. The quality of this bracelet isn't bad at all. It's not super loud. And this taper is just perfect. And it's actually noticeable. When I first put this watch on, I noticed that. This buckle is fairly secure. It's not going to pop open. It's not as secure as the Tissels though, but definitely beats out the Everest. And I actually kind of like this flat crystal. Yeah. It just looks really good with this aesthetic. These two are kind of tied as my favorite. At this point in time, I like the San Martin, but it's new, so that could be part of it. We'll see what happens in time, but... Alright, so let me take off my vintage Movado, and we'll see these watches back to back when they're on the wrist. First up is the Everest on my 7-inch wrist. Looks really nice. I'm still amazed at how small this wears. That is so crazy compared to the other ones. That's pretty wild. And that bracelet is really nice. But yeah, just a little bit more taper up near the watch head would be good. Yeah. And next up is the Tissel. Yeah, see how large that clasp is? But you don't really notice it unless you flip your wrist around, so it doesn't bother me too much. I do kind of like that glossy, inky black dial. It's so dark. And look at that seconds hand. I love those. With the little dot on the counterweight there. The San Martin has that same seconds hand, and it's just amazing looking. And this one wears the largest of the three, in my opinion. Even though it's 36 millimeters, it looks much bigger. But it's a great looking watch. And last up, we have the San Martin. There's that taper. That sterile dial is amazing. And I kind of like that big bezel that it has. Yeah, very cool. So there you have it, my 3 Explorer Homages and what I like about each of them, don't like about them, and just my general opinion of each. I feel like there's something brilliant about each of these, I feel like getting rid of any of these is going to be really tough. Thanks for watching.